Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Tama Singh and I'm a property educator and investor here in New Zealand. I'm doing this video real quickly to warn my younger viewers. I read a fact today that was quite scary. 1 in 4 people in our country, that could be your mom, your dad, your sister, your friends, anyone, 1 in 4 people in New Zealand will be over the age of 65 years old by 2040. That is in 15 years. Visualize what that looks like. That means if you're walking around, say, Sylvia Park, or you're in Christchurch, or you're in Wellington, you're driving in your car, 1 in 4 people are going to be over 65 like your grandparents. That means that the younger generation of people being born and growing up aren't catching up to the amount of people that are aging. And the people that are aging rely on the government for income. Now that is the superannuation. It isn't stressed enough, I think, in school, but if you're listening to certain types of radio stations, News Talk ZB and other radio stations that cover the news, they think that it's a huge worrying aspect, and I do agree. If you look at how many people in our country are on superannuation right now, today in 2025, a quick Google will show you, there is 994,000 people. I can say probably by the end of the year, that'll hit 1 million. So let's just round it up to 1 million people are getting income from the government every single week. Now, how much money are they getting? Roughly $497 or $538. Let's just say $500. $500 gets given to these people that are over 65, aren't working anymore. They need the assistance to pay for their bills, their groceries, their transport, food, etc. That equates to $500 million. $500 million expense to our country every single week. These people are the people that built our infrastructure, built the schools, the hospitals that's been around for the last 50, 60 years, etc. Pretty much grew New Zealand to where it is. So there's a huge amount of people there that do deserve to get that income. But where the problem lies is, where does that money come from? It comes from New Zealand's economy, from taxpayers. Now, where does the taxpayers come from? Just general people. People that are now 20 years old that are going to be into a nice high-paying job when they're 30 years old, and they're going to get taxed, and that money's going to go into a pool, and that's going to support the next generation of people that need the superannuation. But there's a humongous deficit that's happening in New Zealand where people are just not having enough kids to replace the people that are retiring. So all you have is, in an easy way to understand it, a whole bunch of people holding their hand out and not enough people giving the money that's required. Think about the people in your life that might be over 65 years old that are on the pension. This is the superannuation. This is your grandma, your granddad, your friends' grandparents, people that have literally not had a job from sickness, from an injury, and that number is climbing. The other thing that is quite concerning, and if you know this, is that a lot of New Zealanders are also taking off overseas. There's a statement that came out this week that 201 people are leaving our country every day. I remember, maybe it was before COVID, there was about 400 people in New Zealand a week leaving to, say, Australia. Now it's 201 on average a day. This was a stat that came out from Labour. Why are they moving over there? Is it because there's better opportunities? Is it because it's better pay? I also made another video on this on my Instagram that says that if you think that just going to Australia is a magical fix and the land will take care of you, that's incorrect. Because if you're lazy, entitled, and unintelligent here in New Zealand, chances are you're going to have the same experience in Australia, but you're competing with more people. And the Australian business owners are not stupid. They know that there's a huge amount of people coming in every single week. So why would they need to settle for the bottom of the barrel? If you are not a hardworking person that is smart, street smart, book smart, whatever it is in Australia, why would they choose you? But going back to this point here where it's quite worrying is, I'm, in my mid-30s, you can say, and then by the time that it gets to 2040 and I'm looking around, that 1 in 4 people, you're going to have to be like, they're old, over 65, and people need to pay for their lives. Otherwise, this is where crime increases. This is where a lot of just general way of life in New Zealand decreases. A lot more people will start to leave before it gets to that point. And that will mean our infrastructure starts to suffer, our hospitals, our schools, education, all this type of stuff. If you see it happen, read it in books. It is pretty crazy to see that New Zealand just isn't having enough kids, and that is why I guess the government is bringing in more immigrants, because they need the immigrants to come in, because the immigrants are the ones that have numerous kids, and they are the ones that will be replacing the workforce that is lacking, because we do need to keep growing and having kids so they end up working in the workforce to then become taxpayers. And the craziest thing, if you look at what's required from the workforce in New Zealand, In any country, it is a lot of blue collar workers. It is men that go into labor jobs, fix the roads, build the hospitals, build the schools, etc. But most people, if you survey kids these days, don't want to do anything to do with blue collar jobs. The only ones that do are in the trades. They think, oh yeah, I can become a builder, a sparky, a plumber. But majority of them literally are like, I want to become a YouTuber, I want to become a live streamer, I want to become a social media influencer, I want to become a professional electronic gamer, and then maybe sports stars. So when you look at the huge amount of influence that's in the media and the marketing from these billion-dollar companies that say, yep, join our platforms, do this, do this, do this. By the time they get out of high school, they're just like, I just want to do that. I want to sit in my room with super fast internet, and I don't want to do anything else or learn anything else besides sitting on my ass and making laptop money, Wi-Fi money. So then you have a huge deficit of trades happening. Because the country is so poor, they can't even offer the money that can compete with that. Because on the other side, the e-gaming, the sports sells a dream, sells fun, sells a lifestyle, and then the possibility of money. On the trade side, you don't have any of that. You just have the possibility of money. So already the kids are just like, nah. And people's brains, kids especially, are so fried from dopamine levels, from their phones, from memes, from reels, from Instagram, from YouTube videos, that they need the fun, even into their adult lives, because they think that that's just... the dopamine levels are there and they get bored easier. The attention span's not there. They can't even study for these types of things. They won't study to become an electrician. They look at the theory books to become a licensed builder and they go, just let me build with my hands. I don't want to have to do any theory work. So that is another thing. I don't think many people have actually thought of that. I just thought of that now when I'm thinking about it. And I'm going to expand on that in other videos. Just so you guys know, we are dealing with something that is a simple maths equation. And that is, there is a growing number of people that rely on the government's money. The amount of money that we're giving to them is exceeding $500 million a week. What do you think that we need to do about this? This comes down to the main fact where the government that we've had previously that are supposed to have seen this coming and have planned for it was supposed to make changes so we don't end up in the situation. The leaders that we're dealing with now affect what's going to happen in the next 15 years. And that's why some of them have said that we should just stop superannuation. KiwiSaver was brought in so people were compulsory saving. They were compulsory saving so they don't have to rely on the government, or not as much when they hit retirement age. With the cost of living, inflation, everything caused from post-COVID, that Kiwi contribution is enough. The average Kiwi saver, I think, in our country sits at around 40 grand, 60 grand. That is going to be demolished in 1 year of being retired. So that is why most people could look into putting it into property, buying well below market value so you make some equity immediately from day one, and then you wait for it to grow in 10 or 15 years, and that is your big nest egg that you can sell and then maybe end up with $700,000. There's a lot of things here I can go into where people are from Auckland, big cities, are selling up, and I noticed this when I was doing flips in, say, West Coast. They would sell up their house in Auckland, cash out maybe $1 million, go and buy a $250,000, $300,000 house in Westport cash, and then they would just live on the beach, live with their community, gardening, all that type of stuff, and have cash in the bank ready to go. You can't do that in Auckland. You can't just live on $1 million in Auckland. When you retire at 65 years old, the life expectancy, because of medical science and the general way of life, they have to live longer, which means they need more money to survive. And especially if your extended family are moving overseas, who's actually there to look after you? So that is another thing that people need to be wary of, especially when you are looking at doing property flips, is to find out who are the type of people that are buying these types of houses. You can actually take advantage of that, and you're doing them a service. You're like, I'll make a really nice house for a retiree, cash up and come here and buy this bargain, low maintenance. That's what I used to focus on when I did flips in Westport. So there's a lot of things I'm going to cover in the next couple of weeks, so make sure you subscribe, like this video, and comment below what you think is a concern for this country, and if there's any ideas that we should look to be doing to implement, and how you can actually make a difference by pre-warning your kids or spreading the word that New Zealand needs to improve. We can't have every one of our citizens just trying to go overseas and they think that's going to fix their problem. No. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to watch any of my other videos, check it out here, and as I said beforehand, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want, check out my daily activities on Instagram.